Joining the conversation right now is Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, good to see you.
Oh, good morning.
Your reaction to the hearing?
You know, my initial advice was that this was a dangerous place for him to be in because he has a client, the Department of Justice. He has a patron, the President of the United States, and he had his own integrity, which the Democrats were assaulting. Turned out he did quite a commendable job. He certainly dispelled any notion, any credible notion whatsoever, that he had any interaction with Ambassador Kislyak, which was more than just a handshake at a reception line. And that when he was asked about that under oath about any conversations with him, he didn't interpret the handshake to be fit within the definition of conversation. It's really, really in the weeds, but I think he came off A+ 2.0 with respect to the Kislyak statements.
Yeah, somebody had to fight back. Somebody finally got tough on this.
And he really did. And the issue is not what did you talk about, because whatever they talked about was routine for a senator and a foreign ambassador, even this foreign ambassador, who's also an intelligence person for the Russian intelligence services. The issue was, what did you represent that you talked about? So I think he acquitted himself nicely there. And I understand the Democrats' frustration, because I, too, wanted to know what he talked to the president about. And though he didn't formally invoke executive privilege, because only the president can do that, he basically followed the tradition of all of his modern predecessors in both political parties of keeping below the radar screen interactions between the Attorney General and the President. I would like to have heard him say, we are aware of what the Russians tried to do, and it is of deep and profound concern to the President. But I think if he said that, he thought he might have been lifting the lid on the privacy of his conversations with the President, so it went unsaid.
Yeah. That's why he did such a masterful job.
Yeah, it's almost, I hate to use Hillary Clinton's phrase, but even a stop clock can be right twice a day. It was a nothing burger. At the end of the day, I thought to myself, why did he have to go through all
this? The whole
this?
thing was a nothing burger. I'm sorry that I have been so adamant about this subject over the last several months, but I have been saying from the beginning that there is absolutely no evidence of collusion between Trump and the Russians, and it is a ridiculous thing. And the other thing is, the fact that they keep talking about it and the media is ready to drive this car is just outrageous.
Well, we will get an answer from Bob Mueller, and I agree with everything you just said. Therefore, it is inexplicable that the FBI has been devoting resources to an investigation for now over 15 months if there's no there.
How many times have I asked this question in the last month? How much is this costing us? How much is this costing taxpayers?
I don't think we'll ever find out. We can give an estimate. One second.
This is tens of millions of dollars to get everybody together, do these hearings. Taxpayers are paying for it, and all it is this scheme so that they can have a lot of noise so that Donald Trump doesn't get his agenda executed.
Here is the historical uniqueness of yesterday. The clip that you just ran when he said it is I think a detestable lie to suggest I was involved in this collusion. He was not testifying as the Attorney General of the United States about a Justice Department investigation that he was supervising. He was testifying as a witness with first-hand knowledge of what the investigation is supposedly investigating. That is very rare and quite profound, and I think very impactful.
Well, I was just going to say, I think this is by design, that the Democrats have known all along. Like, if we can push this collusion idea and keep the investigation open, we can get Trump on something else, which is the very direction of where
that's absolutely intentional. That's an obvious plan.
But industry standard, how long can an investigation go without finding any evidence? I mean, as we said, we're coming up on the year anniversary. Now Mueller is just cranking up the machinery.
I don't want you to lose your breakfast. Iran-Contra went on for 7 years. The independent counsel is independent of the president.
But this is different from all those other Washington scandals because there's no underlying problem that's been discovered. We're still waiting for the first evidence of collusion.
We won't know the answer to your question, and they're all great questions, until Robert Mueller or a successor, if he's fired. I think this firing thing is grossly exaggerated and would be politically catastrophic.
Another
comes out with a report. He's either going to say, we're not indicting anybody, here's what we found, and it turns out to nothing, or I'm announcing 10 10 indictments this morning.
Now, what about
Something
this?
like that.
200 Democratic lawmakers are suing President Trump right now. They say he's getting money because it's going to the Trump Organization by foreign money, because he's got hotels all over the world. The lawsuit is arguing that the president is allegedly violating the Constitution because only Congress may approve foreign payments.
Okay.
The president turned control of his company over to his sons, we know that, but he did not divest from it. So what do you think about this lawsuit?
I think the lawsuit is utterly frivolous, and I'll give it to you in a nutshell. There's a clause of the Constitution, Bob knows this, called the Emoluments Clause, which basically says the President of the United States may not receive money from a foreign government while he's the president. Yeah. Is Donald Trump personally receiving money from a foreign government while he's president?
No.
Answer, no. Does Donald Trump own the old post office hotel in Washington, D.C.? Answer, no. He owns shares of stock in a corporation that is a partial owner of the building and that manages the building. There's absolutely no.
Should we talk about the Clinton Foundation?
Right, there's no legal impediment.
Should we talk about
whatsoever.
the Clinton Foundation?
Of course, but look, the Constitution requires you can't just sue anybody for anything. You have to show harm to yourself. How were these 200 Democrats harmed? They weren't.
Well, the big difference between that and the foundation is people are actually getting a service from these hotels. And if they're buying a room at market rate, that's not a gift.
Point. All right, you got my point on the foundation. We'll be right back. Thanks, Judge Andrew Napolitano.